semester we can apply for a grant to bring a guest artist in. So this is my guest artist for this this semester, and that's why you have those surveys and you had to sign in, because I have to provide proof that it happened and write a report. So if you can fill out the surveys, I'll grab them afterwards. So when I was going through college, workshops are one of the coolest things to see, because you get to see people just a little bit further ahead from you, and it starts giving you ideas of what kind of careers you can have and different things that you can do. And I thought in this day and age, this would be a really, really important thing to know about, social media, and in particular Instagram. And also, you might not, you know, as you progress with your career, you might not do exactly what you originally thought you might be doing, so it's good to kind of think outside the box. So a quick introduction of Sam. I know a lot of you already know him and follow his pages. He's worked with Grammy Award-winning artists. He's presented at international festivals all around the world. He founded a media company called Pickup, which has over 400,000 followers. He works for Carnegie Hall, and he's also a very accomplished guitar player as well. That's how we know each other. We're both jazz guitar players. Also remember, we will have, so Sam's going to talk for about half an hour, and then we'll have at least half an hour of questions. So if you want to write down questions that you have time to do that at the end. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Sam.
Sweet. What's up, guys? So I was thinking about how to start this workshop. This is my second ever workshop. So first of all, Dr. Angus, Quinton, thanks for having me, bro. There's someone coming in. So there's like three kind of primary things that I want you guys to take away. Number one is Instagram can make you money. It's not just fun. It's not just putting yourself up there, putting your art out there. It actually makes you money. And last year I made more money through this than at Carnegie Hall, where I worked 20 hours per week. Number two, it requires actual talent. Like, you've got to be good at what you do. And I think you guys here, I'm going to assume you're all super talented, because number one, you're studying. Number two, you're here in this room, which means you're interested in furthering your craft, which to me is like half the battle. And number three, it requires hard work, figuring out what works and what doesn't. And that's what this talk is about. It's kind of things which I've tried. Some things I've tried, well, actually most of them have failed, but some have succeeded. So I'm going to do a survey just to see where we're at in the room. And please be honest, don't lie. So please raise your hand only if you have a cell phone. All right, how about if you have Instagram on your phone? How about if you check Instagram more than 3 times per day? How about, let's just say more than 5 times per day? Okay, so that's good, that's really good. Now, how about raise your hand if you've used Instagram, you know, more of a business way, creating content rather than consuming content. Have you done that? Raise your hand. All right, sweet. So that's great. You guys are off to a good start. And you already have a huge advantage over someone like Quinton and I, because you're younger than us. I'm assuming that. So you kind of grew up with it, so you're native. This is how you communicate with your friends. Now it's just a matter of changing from consuming it to creating it. Once you figure that out, that's when the money comes. That's when you get fans asking you for selfies, you're meeting people, and a lot of exciting things happen. So let's paint a picture of where we're at right now. So we all have a craft, right? Whether it's photography, playing guitar, piano, we have a skill, we create art and we want to share it with people. Some of us are okay with sharing it with our parents at home or our uncles or whatever, but most of us like putting it in front of people. So it's important for us to find where their attention is and go where that is. Back in the day, it used to be radio. Before that was print. After radio, it was TV. That's where the attention shifted. And then to get in front of, you know, your audience, you would have to go on the TV. That might have been a talent show. Maybe you took out an ad, or maybe you knew someone. There was a lot of middlemen, and the internet changed that because the internet is the middleman between you and your audience. So right now, where are people's attention? Anyone know? Where are people right now, if they're not in front of you? Huh? They're on their phone. And on their phone, there's probably like 5 top apps which they're going to be on: Facebook, Instagram, if you're younger, Snapchat, if you're younger, Twitter, or if you're older, Twitter, or Musical.ly, if you're like 13 and you like lip syncing. So figuring out where people are is the first step. Then you have your craft. How do you get in front of them? You have to figure out how to create content which is native to that platform, and then that's the trick. So once you realize that, being where the eyes are and the ears, a lot of people consume content on the subway, not even looking at things nowadays, whether that's a podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, so that's also something to consider. But once you realize you got to be where the attention is, then things change. And that changed for me in 2015-16, and it really changed my life once I realized that, because everything else came from there. To go back a little bit, I wasn't always the social media dude, the dude with 50,000 followers, the guy who knew how to use Instagram. I came from New Zealand, which is about as far away from anything as you could possibly be. There's a lot of sheep. My dad was a hobbit. No, actually, my grandfather was a sheep farmer. My dad wasn't a hobbit, though. So I grew up in New Zealand, and I studied guitar. But then this happened. Earthquake after my undergraduate degree, and it destroyed the city centre of my town, Christchurch. So there were no gigs. So then I had to find some other opportunities to perform, to put my art in front of people's eyes. So what I did was I hopped on a cruise ship. For 4 years, on and off, I traveled the world: Mediterranean, Caribbean, Alaska, the Pacific, playing about 4 hours per day. And if any of you guys are just musicians and you're interested about this, hit me up afterwards, because it's a fun gig. You get paid. Beer is $1. That's good. Free food. You do work a lot though. So. But the one thing about cruise ships, 4 years, internet costs like $5 per minute. So I was as disconnected as possible as I could have been from social media, from Instagram. And again, things changed when I moved to New York City. I studied at CUNY, at Queens College. Studied my master's in jazz guitar. And while there, I came across this guy called Gary V. If you want to write something down, some of you guys got paper, write down this guy called Gary, V-E-E. So he convinced me to be where attention is, right? And I realized that, I have to be where attention is, which is on their phone. On their phone, they're in social media. All right, how do I use social media? So here's some examples of people who have done what I've done. It's not just me. I'm not the best at this in any way. Thousands of people are doing this. Celebrities on social media are now bigger than older celebrities. People like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, or like world star, like celebrities, like who's someone? Supreme Patty, someone like that is like now bigger than like your regular movie star. So this is happening on a large scale and also on a micro scale. Someone, like even there's some people here who are like micro influencer celebrities within their niche. So thanks. Talking about you. She's awesome. Yeah, and whether that's photography, dance, like making beats, there's an opportunity here for you to have a fan base. And the great thing is the only cost of entry is your cell phone. And we all got, for some reason, it's okay that we spend $1,000 on a cell phone. And that's the only cost of entry. So, all right, first up is this girl also from New Zealand. So I gave a workshop very much like this in New Zealand at my old university. She was the one person out of 60 people who took what I was telling her, ran with it. Obviously, she's talented. She was hardworking. She's got blonde hair that helps, to some degree. But she, took it, and since that happened within the space of a year, she grew to 80, 100,000 followers. She played shows in LA, New York. She had lines out the door. She had people lining up buying merch. This is just like a regular girl who likes cats, likes knitting. It's actually interesting. If you definitely follow her, she's actually going back to the knitting thing. She's like, I'm over this influencer Instagram thing. I'm going back to knitting. All right, second example. I know there's photographers here. Give this guy a follow. Instagram is super visual. So if you're a photographer and you're not really diving into this like 110%, please do after this. This is just one example. This dude is 20. He's making a killing by selling Lightroom presets. It's like $5 to $15. He sells that. People want to get his color, his grade. People make up to $100,000 a year by affiliate links because people want to know what camera you're using. So you have your kit.com/your name. You list all your gear. You get like 2% every time someone buys the $5,000 camera, and times that by 1,000, and then it's a nice like residual income. Third and final example. You all know him?
That's my husband.
Really?
Yeah. No, I wish.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that the same instrument?
Yeah, viola. The viola. This is a New York guy. I don't know if he's from here originally, but
Yeah, he is.
yeah. Juilliard, right?
Went to Juilliard. My man's graduated.
Is he from New York? I know he studied here at Juilliard. Are there classical? Are you guys classical? Are you like viola, piano? Yeah. This is the dude, he shares a lot of advice and insight. He does some crazy things all around the world, some crazy performances. I think he really defines the Instagram music influencer thing. And also on the classical side, he's kind of changing the dialogue around classical music. So 3 really good examples. All right, so big question is, how do you actually make money of it, right? You have 20,000 followers, you have 100,000 followers, you have 2,000 followers. How do you actually make money out of this? And going back to the bigger question, which is attention. If you have attention of 2,000 people, then that's a really valuable thing, because someone else who wants to sell something, before they would take out an ad in the yellow pages on TV. Nowadays, you have that audience, they're going to pay you to put their product in front of your audience. That's called influencer marketing, and that's like $200 to $2,000 for a post on Instagram. So that's one way. Second way is a better way, is if you have something to sell, whether that's like an online course, which is how I make most of my money, or your own artwork or your own music. You're not going to make much money out of Spotify, but you have the Instagram following. You push them to your Spotify. Spotify, you get the data of where they're all at. You do a tour, because you know exactly where they are. You do the tour, then you have your merch, you have your t-shirts for $30. You make $25 out of the t-shirt. That's when you're making a bunch of money. So it doesn't feel like it's directly in front of you, making money through Instagram, but always go back to, if you get attention, then money will follow. So how do you get attention? Steps to build your audience. You can take a photo of this if you want. There's also some links at the end where I kind of show you some really detailed steps. So it's really quite simple. It's about the content and it's about engaging with your community. You have to create really dope content which is better than everyone else, whether that's photography, playing guitar, playing piano, whatever it is. So just to give you some really concrete steps, I want you to, hopefully you guys walk away with some like really simple steps. This is what it looks like. Get your phone, go like this, take a video, selfie, or you set it up there, and you do your thing, whether it's piano, viola, whatever it is. Then you find, you film for 2 minutes, you find that 15 seconds to 30 seconds, which is like really awesome, you perfected it. Maybe it takes you like 5 times to get it perfect. And then that's your video. You do that every day, a couple of pictures to tell your story. And that's how you build your audience. Add a couple of like 5 to 15 relevant hashtags. And at the end of this, if you guys have specific questions, just hit me up. Oh, why did I put myself up there? Part 2 is engaging with people. It's creating a feeling of community. Social media, it's not just media, it's all about interacting with your audience. And you do this in a lot of different ways. Big one is just replying to everyone. Anyone that leaves a comment, reply to every single one, like every comment. Also be kind of nosy, jump out there on different accounts. Instagram introduced a thing recently where if you like a comment, then that comment will go to the top of the feed. Has anyone else noticed that?
Yeah.
So now people trying to say witty things so they get like all the likes. So you can be on like Daquan and be like 400 likes on your comment, and then you're going to be sitting right up the top of there. And then people are going to be like, who's this funny person? Let me check out their profile. And then it's going back to step one, which is the content has to be dope. Be cool, comment, engage. In this example here, I just said, ask me a question in the comments. I was driving between here and New Jersey, so I was like in the car for 2 hours, so I was just literally for 2 hours replying to every single comment. And then I did that on the way back from New Jersey to New York City. And I'll often do that. I'm like, you know, falling asleep at bed, and I'll spend an hour just replying to people's DMs. I try to reply to every DM, and with 400,000 followers, it's like hundreds. Sometimes it's just a heart, though. That always feels a bit, you know, insincere. So that's kind of the end of the talk. I want to dive into some questions because I'm sure there's some real specific things. Take a photo of that. If you want to take a photo, that might be easier there. Sweet. I know you have a question, bro. Yeah. Cool, you got it, yeah. Do you have anything that I should go deeper on, Quentin?
I don't know. I was going to say, well, a couple of things. I could also email this
Yeah.
thing as well.
Yeah, you got it.
If anyone feels like they missed anything or they want, you can email me. I'll write my email here, and you can, and then I can send it through.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe for me, you could talk about the hashtags a little
Yeah.
bit. How to approach doing the hashtags and
Yeah.
compiling them, knowing how many to use and where and
Yeah.
when to use them and stuff.
Yep.
I would like you to talk a little bit about your opinion or where Instagram is going.
Yep.
Because we both know that it's changing a lot.
Yep.
And hopefully it's not going to happen what happened with Facebook too.
Mm.
With it.
Sure. So I'll start with hashtags. So hashtags aren't as important now because it's done through the algorithm, through the Discover page. If you click the search icon, then Instagram's going to try and predict what you like based on who you follow and who follows you. Whereas back in the day, I call myself the hashtag scientist, right? I had like note-keeping apps, like 30 hashtags, and I would rotate them. You know, got it down to a fine art, and which is how I really grew to where I am today. Nowadays, it's a little bit more of like a mystical science because it's, you know, I don't confess to know the exact way it works now, but I know putting relevant hashtags, whether it's photography or guitar, you know, everything should be relevant, not too broad, in that nice middle range where you could get in the top posts is important. And your point, where's Instagram going? I don't know. I don't work for Instagram, but I do know on Facebook, right, you used to post and it used to be organic. You could reach a bunch of people. Nowadays you have to pay. It's doing the same thing on Instagram, and that's just how things work when you get more people. You know, that's why the algorithm comes in. You know, it goes from chronological to algorithm because, you know, otherwise you're not going to see anything. And also, you know, pay to play will come to Instagram for sure, but they're obviously trying to combat that with the story right now. I think there's a lot of importance around the stories right now because it's a guaranteed way to, you know, get in front of your audience. If you post, it's going to push to the front. If you post daily, you're going to be like right at the front of the story thing, so it's super important. But like you guys, I'm always trying to figure out, you know, I read tech news to find out new updates, and then I try and jump on that stuff straight away before everyone else, so I'm ahead of the game. And people are all doing the same thing as me. Sweet. Yeah. So you mean this? When you click your profile and you have all the squares, you're asking if it should look cohesive and organized. most people, especially people with a strong visual, taste, often emphasize that too much. You've got to realize that most people see your content in the timeline, right? Very few people, if they already follow you, are going to click your profile to be like, oh, this is nice, and oh, this all fits together. It should fit together, but it's more important that it looks really engaging in the feed. And just a side note onto that is, sometimes people post a big picture, but they chop it up into like 9. So you got like half a face here, like a nose here. Like, don't do that. And like I heard official Instagram lady from music from Instagram said, don't do that, because otherwise it's going to be like, that's not good content. Yeah.
Okay, so first question I had to ask is, you said that up to a certain point with sponsorship you can get about $2,000 a post, right?
Yep.
So when did you start seeing sponsorship deals for your Instagram when you were starting out?
It's like about 10,000.
10,000.
Yeah. Before that, I was getting free gear, and I still get free gear.
Okay.
And that gear is anything from like a $200 to $500 like pedal, because I'm a guitarist, right, to like a $2,000 guitar. And right now I say no to most of that thing, because usually these people are like starting out brands and the quality of the product isn't that good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, since I'm still late nights at Live BMCC fairly recently, you mentioned, did you went into what you predominantly advertise on your site, or I can always do the research for this.
What do I advertise?
So what is your page, your platform consist of?
Oh yeah, have you guys seen Pickup?
I haven't seen it yet, actually, which I could,
I probably should have. Yeah, I think we got the internet. We have the internet at BMCC, right?
You were also referencing these people are musicians who are actually able to build up a proper fan base for their live performances, right?
So,
maybe that, Sam, that's something to talk about as well as
Yeah.
personal pages, is like the community.
yeah.
That's interesting.
So,
I have a friend, for example, who is a musician. He's in a band that I book fairly commonly, actually. He's one of my favorites. But he also told me, is like about in 2016, that Instagram was the direction to go as far as advertising, and he's put a lot of. He's at 14,000 right now, and it's helped out his draw a little bit, but it hasn't helped out to the point where it was like a noticeably big difference, So I want as a 14,000 follower, platform he has now, I don't know if he's starting to get any kind of advertisement deals or any kind of sponsorship. He is paying for a lot of advertisement through Instagram right now, though.
he pays to promote posts.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. He pays. He pays people who are helping him advertise for his page right now. So he's still, I guess, on that consumer part, basically.
Got you. Yeah.
But you said around 10,000 when you start getting offers from potential sponsors, right? So.
Yep. And it's getting harder and harder because more people are getting 10,000 followers. So it's like an arms race, right? So in a month it might be.
Getting dry, so to speak. Is there a new
Yeah.
one to go to at the moment? Is there a new
Well,
social media platform that might be potentially on the rise over Instagram, as Facebook has recently almost died now at this point? It's still a tool I can use as a conversational piece for a music business aspect of live music, so I can have something to relate to on a mutual friend basis. Like, this person having good way to meet somebody as far as that goes, and talk music business for that. But Instagram is more picture based, and I feel it's also a little bit less. I don't know how much the numbers on Instagram merit to the actual people attending. That's kind of one of my main.
Attending concerts.
Yeah, like, how do you, as an artist, get a long-term fan base from people? It panders to a very short-minded. We all we're bored, just take out our phone, Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I like that, and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Is it good for building up a long-term fan base, I guess?
So it's only been around for a few years, so it's hard to say like long term, but now there are artists who have come up specifically in the past 2 years who are selling out like 200 to 500 person shows, like in like LA, New York, that type of thing. And that often pushes to Spotify, plays, also pushes to YouTube. So, and I've got to know a lot of these artists who have come up through the platform, and it's a new thing. And I'm betting that it is a long-term thing. And your question about like what's next after Instagram. We all thought it was Snapchat, but then Instagram copied Snapchat with a story because they're a big company and they can do that. They can take what you're doing and do it better. Often they would acquire your whole company. Snapchat was too big, so they just replicated it. And I don't think Instagram's going anywhere soon. You know, the story thing was a huge plus. They're going to keep bringing in new features to, you know, create little corners within the large user base. Yeah. Yeah, bro.
I have a question around, you see a lot of people starting to document, right? Like a lot of musicians, especially, more and more musicians are putting their art online, especially on Instagram. So there's some form of saturation that's happening. And you see, you know, I see personally so many talented musicians that have, you know, less than 1,000 followers every day. And of course, there's no formula to reaching more people. But are you seeing, like, I've been noticing, like, someone like Matt Zara, for example, great video editing skills, extremely talented, leveraging both those skills to reach a different audience. Are you seeing kind of those trends where there's, you know, people using multi-tools to stand out a little more?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the game is there's going to be more noise, there's more people doing it, whether it's photography or playing art. So people who have multi-talents like visual and music can create dope video, edit it, add some cool effects, and play guitar like this guy, Matt Zara, and like edit together, and he produces tracks. You know, this kid, he's out in London, he's like 18, he had less than 1,000 followers, but the quality of his content was so good that he just kind of exploded. All it took was one share from my account pickup, gave him like 5,000 followers, did that times 5, then he had the momentum. So you really, if you right now have less than 1,000 followers, it requires like, kind of like aggression and really high quality content to kind of break out of that. Once you do, then things start ticking over, and it can be really, really exciting once it does. Lots, all the time. No, at least like I'd say minimum of 5 posts per week, and you could ramp. People aren't going to be upset about how often you post if it's really good stuff. In terms of the time of day, just, you know, think West Coast, East Coast. Are people going to be away in the West Coast and the East Coast? Maybe over in Europe. So, you know, anywhere. It's not like 5:44 is the best time. It's just anywhere between like noon and midnight.
I got Reddit famous for one day actually because I posted at the right time in the early morning actually.
Yeah.
Mind you, it was a mistake and I put it in the wrong thread, but you know that's what sparked the interest.
I do know that Friday afternoons is the worst time to post because people, it's like the end of the week. So if you're saving up something really special, don't post it on a Friday evening, afternoon. Also Saturday evening, afternoon. Sundays are great, Mondays are great, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays are all great. And don't get too stuck up about when you post it. Some of the highest engaging stuff was like me in the bathroom on like 2 a.m. on a Saturday night. And it didn't matter because the content was cool.
So people like hashtagging Blakelock Jazz to the future.
Yeah.
And do you guys like, how do you like, what do you see when you choose the videos to feature?
On Pickup Jazz, yeah, good question.
Like what do you guys see? Like, how do you choose among all those videos?
It's a lot. I think there's like 100,000 videos. What I do is, well, first of all, it's very overwhelming. It used to be great back in the day. You'd put top posts up, so it would show the best posts. Most often it would be other accounts just spamming the hashtag, my hashtag around my account. So honestly, what I do, I just scroll like pretty quickly, and I'm just looking at the visual thumbnail. And if it looks good, then I'll click it and I'll watch it. But if it's just some dude and it's like badly lit and it's like him in his like pajamas, like, and that's like 90% of it, I will just scroll past that. You have to visually capture my attention or, you know, the people. I mean, that'll be the same for like a photography page. If they're trying to find people to feature, they'll look through a hashtag, or a piano page, they might look through a piano hashtag to find content. So it's getting harder and harder, yeah.
As far as sound and the quality of your videos, are you using mics to mic up amps and like different camera levels in your phone?
So the great thing about Instagram is often the less effort you put in, the better the result is going to be. Your iPhone is going to be like totally fine. And the reason is because it feels organic. It feels like you're watching it as if you filmed it on your phone so you can relate to it. That's why, you know, get all these comedians going back to someone like Supreme Patty. They're creating comedic videos with their iPhones. Sure, they chop them up, but it's that feeling of rawness and realness which people can relate to. So sometimes I mic up the amp, but usually it doesn't perform well as if it was just my phone. Yeah. So that's great because you don't have to put much time into stuff.
And you've done, just one quick side note,
Yeah.
I know you've done experiments where you have created content where you concentrated on using a really good camera, recording it, like making it all really, really good, and there's no data to support that performs any better than just a phone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I'll show you some examples of my stuff. It's got a bit crazy right now. I've been putting fruit in it. This got 152,000 views. These are iPhone. That's iPhone. Yeah, it's all iPhone. Right now I'm just experimenting with humor. I used to be a lot more humorous, but then I got super serious because I went through like a university like this, and that kind of got stripped out of me. So trying to put that back in, and it's doing really well. I think we got time for like a couple more.
So about the paid post,
Yeah.
do you ever contact companies for that, or they contact you?
People pay me?
Uh-huh.
No, my way, this is in life, relationships and everything, I always wait for them to come for me. I don't know, for better or worse. Usually in the long term it's better because then you're in a more powerful position if they come to you, rather than
What
be...
type of companies have paid you for that, like guitar companies?
Most often they just want to give you free products, especially music companies, because they don't have big budgets, and also they don't want to allocate the budget to an Instagram post because they're usually like old school dads out in the Midwest. But I've worked with like just the main music brands. Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as starting out,
Yeah.
I myself starting to actually start utilizing Instagram a lot more. So
Yeah.
I've been doing. I'm not a camera kind of guy.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing, taking steps towards it, is basically just whatever I think about, I'll just post this to see how it feels and maybe just gain a bit more confidence. But I want to transition more into my own content. So as far as posting, what's your take on covers, original work, when you're starting out? Because people who, well, at least from my perspective, people I like watching are usually original, like super talented. But as far as like covers, you kind of just brush them off because they seem to be a bit too true to the song.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I can do that too.
Yeah.
So what's your take on all that?
So are you a singer and you play guitar? Is that what you do?
I'm a guitar player, but
Yeah.
I'm also trying to sing and
Yeah.
play piano as well.
I don't think it matters if it's a cover or an original as long as the video looks visually good.
Okay.
And you say you're not like a camera guy, all you need is an iPhone, light, face the window, put the camera there, put the phone vertical. You could be playing like Mary Had a Little Lamb and it's gonna do well, But specifically about covers, if you put your own twist on it, that's kind of cool. And also remember, Instagram, you got 60 seconds. If you're making a video, it could only be 15, And maybe you find a little perfect loop and, people watch it like 4 times. So,
Sam, I just realized,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. One of the survey questions was talking about the most common social media mistakes, and I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things, if you stalk Sam after this, he has a lot of free Instagram information, and one of the most interesting things for me was he's documented his process as he's gone through, right from when he started with, let's say, like 200 or 400 followers or something like that, and he has like screenshots of what his Instagram profile used to look like,
Yeah.
and I remember looking at that and being like, oh, that's what mine looks like.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and so I don't know, do you want to go over something?
Should I bring that up?
I don't know, is that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is me with 300 followers. Just give me 1 second. By the way, I write a lot about this stuff and I put it all up for free on my website. It usually gets outdated in about a month because that's the nature of the game. But
yeah, I think there was one, the reason I asked about hashtags was
Yeah.
there was one that I read of his on hashtags.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not a thing anymore, but
Also, I'm curious, what
yeah, he
do you
had like a
use
PDF
for-
thing on how to use hashtags. And
So
I-
what do you use for storage? Like all the posts on Pickup, like
I
what do you store?
put it all on my phone. I'm constantly deleting, like, I have some on Google Drive and then I download them as I need if I know that I won't post them immediately. Wait, so when did this post? I don't know if that's when I updated it. Look, Pickup Jazz, which is now Pickup, which has 370,000. That's what it looked. That was me on cruise ships, right? Like, what is that? Celery and peanut butter? So then I changed from consuming to creating content. Oh, I deleted that. Look, 52 likes.
What is this website that has your content step-by-step process?
Pardon me?
How would I find this exactly?
Just my name, samblakelock.com. Then go to resources, and then under resources, there's a thing called social media strategy, and this is that bit there. And you know, maybe a lot of you guys are in that same position I was in 2015, which is right now it's like cats and food and cool things for your parents, but you've been thinking about taking it more seriously. So once you make that switch, and going back to what I talked about earlier, if you realize that you've got to be where attention is, then that should push you to make that switch. And then there's a huge amount of opportunity here, because the great thing is that a lot of people don't get this. A lot of people don't get it, and it's not too late to start. Yeah.
I see also that you have that you are actively like advertising for bands and for artists as well on your page, right? That's partly what you do for your Instagram page is help other artists out with
Yeah.
participating with that.
So we work with artists where they might have a CD or a tour coming up. Like, for example, Bruno Major is a UK artist. We're promoting his tour through a competition. We got a Friday a competition with Corey Henry, who's from Brooklyn. We're asking people to like solo over the track from a single. So we work with artists and that type of thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that just for the purpose of creating, exclusive content for Pickup that engages your audience more?
If we get dope content, and it's a reason for me to hit up the influencers that I know all around the world, then they don't really need to pay me, because there's going to be like a lot of like great content coming out of that.
Is there anything you receive royalties from?
No.
No, they're all straight. This is our deal for this situation. Here you go for this, and you do your part for that.
Yeah, usually
I'll see you next time.
pay you X amount for X amount of posts, and they know ahead of time it's going to get, reach like 100,000 people. Those are the type of numbers. And then once it's over, it's done.
Which actually makes more sense for advertising and putting up a commercial, because then you do have to pay royalties for whoever is actually a part of it, right? So,
Yeah.
TV commercials,
Yeah.
That being said, are there any outlets within Instagram that will be able to provide royalties, or is there any way that
You mean like sync licensing for music?
that or anything else involved? Just your copywritten material or anything you'll be receiving amounts from it basically on a.
I don't think that will happen anytime soon. They signed deals with like the big, like Universal and the big things. So now you can just use music however much you want on Instagram, and you're not going to get a copyright strike. As to whether that then money will go back to the artist, I don't think that happens right now.
Right.
Does it happen on YouTube right now?
YouTube, I believe there's a certain way. Especially because I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how advertising works with sponsorship for YouTube channels, but
Yeah.
I know. I believe there's some kind of a royalty thing going on.
Yeah.
Where after a certain point, if you allow for a 4-second advertisement on YouTube,
Got you.
you will be able to receive a certain amount. Depending on how many followers you have, you'll be getting more and more of an income from that company.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different ad model on YouTube, which is like the pre-roll, and then you split that with YouTube.
Right.
Instagram's like Facebook, where they make their money by like dark posts or putting posts
Sure.
in the feed rather than before the video.
Sure.
Although they did do that a little bit on Facebook, I don't think it was very successful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When posting like original things, are you worried about copyright at all? About like other people stealing your things, or
Yeah.
is that not a concern?
Like reposting my content or my images.
Or if you create something and someone
Yeah.
took a bit of it,
Yeah.
and then used it for their own purposes without notifying you about it, would that be
Yeah. Well, people do that a lot to me. They repost my videos and perhaps don't credit me. If they do credit me, it's a good thing because then I get that attention and the followers. But
You should make sure you register your original material.
Yeah.
I'm still with APRA, which is like an Australian
Yeah.
performing rights. Are you with a New Zealand one? But over here
Yeah.
there's ASCAP. So you should, if you create original music, you should register it with ASCAP
Yeah.
so that if someone does steal it and use it and make money, you get the royalties.
Yeah.
I also do like the fake copyright thing where like you write down like the lyrics of your song and like the chords and whatnot, like a letter and then you mail it to yourself but you don't open it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that.
That's an old school way of doing it, but yeah, you can just if you become a member of ASCAP, there's a lot of other ones as well, BMI, and you can literally just register your original material. But yeah, that's an old school way.
I mean, you can't exactly sell any content from Instagram anyway because Instagram owns what your photos and videos once you put them on there, right?
No, well, if you have an original song
Right.
and you post it on Instagram and someone steals that original song and makes a record and sells 1 million copies, if you've registered that with ASCAP or BMI and you own it as your original song, then you have legal. But if you haven't registered it,
Right.
then you have no
Yeah.
rights.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweet. My approach to that is to kind of just, if someone steals my song, I'll write 10 better ones. So, screw you.
But Sam also has a really interesting thing. Do you want to talk about what is the thing that you do where he creates, it's some kind of like online community in which he creates specific content for Instagram, so short little 1-minute original guitar songs, and then people from all around the world like learn his songs and then post themselves playing those songs. What is that called again? The
Song Squad?
Yeah, Song Squad, yeah.
Oh, it's just like an online course where I create songs and people cover them and they pay $30 to access the course. And they get like a bunch of songs to learn. And that's how I monetize, or one of the ways I monetize. Yeah.
Are there other ways to monetize your content?
As a musician or?
Yeah, as a musician.
Yeah. Yeah. So the paid ad things, if someone has a guitar, they might pay you to put the guitar in your video because you have 20,000 followers. That's one way, sponsored posts. The better way is if you have something to sell, like me, my online course, which is perfect because it's digital. There's nothing actually physical to sell, so I get most of that money.
I have a question about that. So
Yeah.
you have the courses on your own website.
Yeah.
Do you have to pay the website for
Ye-
a percentage for the sales?
I pay a monthly fee and then they take like a 2% cut of that. Yeah.
And like strategies for selling those courses, do you have like?
It goes back to building your audience, your content, and then they're really dying for your secrets. They want to learn your secrets behind your playing, and then it's just a matter of giving them what they want. If you're trying to like sell something, then that means you haven't built the audience large enough, And it's really quite telling. If you build an audience, then you ask someone to pay for something, it's going to tell you how really engaged they are. It's like a good kind of quantifying factor about that. Yeah.
How have you been using Instagram analytics for
Yeah.
some of the posts that you do? I know you mentioned Spotify, and that was actually a really cool way to think about
Yeah.
where to go on tour, where you're engaging audiences.
Yeah.
Have you used Instagram analytics to define what kind of content you create?
So there's two types of Instagram accounts. There's personal and business. You can change it to business by connecting it to I believe you have a Facebook account. actually it's going to lower your engagement because they will want you to pay for it. So I don't actually encourage anyone under 10,000 followers to change to a business account. But once you do, what I do is I look and I see what performs the best. And it's very telling, you know, it's very obvious. This is what people want, so I'm going to post more of that. And often I'll repost the highest performing content, and I usually repost the same stuff every 3 months on pickup, not my personal one. Yeah, and I look at, it doesn't have specific like locations on Instagram, which is kind of a pain, but I mainly look at what content performs the best. Yeah.
That's interesting though, so you recommend under 10,000 not to change the business?
Yeah, and I actually changed my personal one back to my Sam Blakelock back to personal, and I saw the growth come back. Right now it's plateaued off again, so I don't know.
I have a question about that. I did it, but I lost the link button on the stories.
That's right.
Did you do it too?
Yeah, a big plus about a business account is you can swipe up in the stories. So if you have a single on Spotify or anything, that's like a huge plus, but you lose that if you change back.
You can't do that on the personal. You don't have that feature?
No.
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
and not all business accounts have it either. You,
Have the swipe up, yeah.
yeah.
They don't.
Do you have it?
I don't actually.
You have a business account?
I do. But it's
But you-
probably got a follower cutoff, right?
Gotta have like.
Yeah, you still do it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the reason.
I would try changing it back to personal. You can always change it back
Yeah,
and
see
see what
what
happens. Like, yeah, let me know. Like, give it like 2 weeks, post the same type of thing, and see if you get a bunch more engagement. Yeah.
You said that you had that there are personal and business accounts for Instagram.
Yeah.
Although you have to pay partly for the business account for Instagram.
Oh,
Is that
no.
what you said?
They want you to pay because you're saying that you're a business, so they're going to deprioritize your content a little bit because they want you to then promote it to get that same level of organic
Do you have
reach.
more of is there more of an incentive for companies to find you through having a business Instagram or a personal, or is there a difference for it? Like, I work for Sony, for example.
Yeah.
Like, I got these headphones. You know,
Yeah.
you have a lot of followers. I'll give you $2,000. Are they going to find you through having a business or a personal, or does it not matter?
They don't know if you're. Oh no, they do know if you're a personal business. They're just going to look at your followers though. They don't mind if you're a personal business. But if they do hit you up, that's probably going to be because you have a bunch of followers.
Yeah.
Which in that case you may as well have a business account because then you get the insights and the swipe up.
Okay. Wait, can you explain what the swipe up is? Because I actually don't really know.
Yeah.
I post pictures of my feet on Instagram, kind of.
I actually think they made. You can watch stories now on desktop. So
Yeah, it's basically like in a story. Let's say that someone's story was for a new PDF ebook that they're selling, and then you can swipe up to buy it.
Oh.
straight away, and it'll
Oh,
take
cool,
you-
all right, so it'll link you directly to the.
yeah.
Yeah, you literally just swipe up and then it will. Yeah.
It was going to make me log in. Yeah, but you click that thing and then it's a full screen thing. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And the click-through rate is crazy. You know, if you're trying to push people to check out anything, you know, your website, your resume, whatever, people really do swipe up. Yeah.
What
Cool.
do you look for when you are promoting? If somebody approaches you as an artist who is looking for, I guess, help building their Instagram up, what do you look for as something? Because like you're also acting kind of as a scout a little bit in this kind of sense.
What do I look for?
And in the artist,
When I'm
if they
considering to-
approach you
yeah.
asking, can you please help me with this page or something like that? Like,
Yeah.
what's your incentive to say yes to it?
I just follow through and I look at the videos and I spend about 0.5 seconds looking at it, and if it doesn't look good, then I won't listen to it.
Sure.
And then so it looks good, and then I listen to it, it sounds good, and then I'll post it right then.
Okay.
Well, actually, one of my favorite bands, a few of my favorite bands have hit me up. One of them is the Kennedy Administration, who's like a really dope, like New York funk band. Just emailed me today, like, "Hi Sam, can you please check out our Instagram?" I was like, "I watch you guys down in the West Village like a bunch of times. This is incredible." And bands like, if you know, Lettuce is like a jam band, famous band. There's venues like Brooklyn Bowl who've like hit me up now, going back to your question about approaching people rather than letting them come to you. Often, you know, you just wait a little bit, keep doing your thing, keep putting out the content. People will come to you, they'll hear about you. And that's happened with a lot of my favorite musicians, venues, brands. A lot of them haven't yet, but I'm just going to be doing my thing until they do. Should we wrap up?
Sure, yeah, maybe like
Couple more?
two more questions or
Sweet.
something, and then, yeah.
Yeah.
So can you just say 3 big mistakes so we can kind of keep those mistakes in mind when we use Instagram?
The mistakes, yeah, to avoid. Thank you, yeah. Number 1 is don't be a perfectionist. And this kind of goes to anything, but it's super true on Instagram where it's an instantaneous moment. It's all about the quantity of content, putting it out and refining your process to increase the quality rather than that one perfect post. It's such a danger to, not post because you're not happy with it. Just put it out there and, post 5 more, which are going to be better. It's all about...
I think it's also like a test, right? You're almost testing and then you see what works. It's like if you're a perfectionist and you never put anything out.
Yeah.
Then you don't understand, and it might be, I'm sure you've been surprised with what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, something that you spend ages on perfecting, whether it's a photo where you spend ages editing it or a video, might not actually perform that well. And something that you just put up on the fly, like a video, might perform well. So you have to put it out there. And also you can put something out for 15 minutes and take it down if it goes really bad. So number 1, don't be a perfectionist. Let's see. Number 2, just focus on, I'll go back to what I said before. It's about content and then engagement. So content, very high quality, but making it easy for yourself to create really high quality content. And then the last one being engagement. Actually, that's not a mistake, is it? Let me think about some of the mistakes.
What about, I'm just thinking of this,
Don't be a perfectionist is a mistake.
Like creating a lot of content rather than posting as you go, like creating a lot of content and maybe not scheduling it, and then having a big storehouse of material to post so you don't have to be thinking about it all the time.
Yeah, like Quentin and I worked together, we would spend our afternoon and we'd create a bunch of content for 2 weeks worth, and then we didn't have to think about it.
Is that a common?
Yeah, a lot of people do that, yeah. And we change the shirts and things so it looks different, change the camera angle, because you really want to make it easy for yourself. Because this stuff is important, but you want to make it easy, the process easy. Yeah, I need to think of some other mistakes.
Do you think a mistake would be using Instagram? Like some posts are more personal, like a selfie in the mirror, and another post is you playing the guitar. Like, do you think it should just be one thing?
Oh yeah, going off that point, I think a mistake is posting content for yourself, not for other people, which is, it's kind of switching the mindset. Is this something that, imagine 2,000 people right there. Are they going to enjoy this picture that I just posted? Is this something that they enjoy? Is this something that I'm just trying to make a statement about? It can be both. It's representing you and what you do, but also be interesting to 2,000 people who don't know you. What was your question again, though? Did I answer it? Yeah, sweet.
You mentioned in the beginning that 10,000 was the ultimate place where a sponsor will start looking at you, but you said also there's a lot of people who are getting 10,000 now. Is there a new number that we have to look at for that kind of thing? Like, is 10,000 still credible as far as sponsorship goes as of right now, or is it
depends on
because everyone's doing it?
It depends on the niche you're in and like the relative numbers of the of the influencers in your niche. In New Zealand, you can be an influencer with 2,000 followers. If you're like a Kiwi mum, like visiting cafes, people will be paying you $300.
You have the Hobbit Shire, you have Game of Thrones castles lying around everywhere. I mean, so there's a lot that people would appeal to on an international market.
With just a quick side note about that. So because it's not just music and art, right? It's everything.
Yeah.
My wife works in social media marketing, and she works for a company called Brandbacker, and their whole thing is micro influencers, like Sam was talking about, people with not actually that many followers. So a micro influencer, I think technically is between 3,000 and 100,000 or something like that, or 3,000, 20,000. But in any case, so on their platform, they not only mainly work with beauty products, not only do they give free samples out, they'll pay people who have 4,000 followers $200, $400, $500 to post once. Because the idea is that the micro influencers, like if you follow Beyonce and she posts about a shampoo, then no one cares because they're like, oh, clearly she got paid for that. but if you get tons of micro influencers, so I think that it's changing
Yeah.
in
That's how
terms of.
music industry is in the first place, the upstreaming concept, where Sony and any major companies going to smaller independent studios to
Yeah.
do their work for them.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if there's necessarily a magical number, but I think it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could have 2,000 followers and people be paying you to do posts. Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned about using social media to attract companies, especially if you're wearing or using their products. Anything additional you have to do to seal the deal?
To get people to pay you to promote their products?
No, to either pay or endorse.
Yeah. So all of the companies who work with me, they always come to me, whether that's they saw my content through the Discover page or they got recommended by someone. So I guess the steps would be you build your following, you build your content within your niche. It looks like it might be photography. And then once you get it to a certain level of engagement of an audience, then maybe you reach out to some of these companies. You find the email, you find the person who's their social media manager, or you talk to someone who they work with and ask, hey dude, how did you end up working with this company? And then they could make an introduction for you. But most often they'll come to you if you're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Just last question, really more like personal question. Do you ever feel like you don't feel like posting, or you feel like unmotivated with it, or you're just like, I'm just tired of sharing this with million people?
For sure, like, yeah, it goes in waves, like waves of, it's just like life goes in waves. I didn't post it all today.
What do you usually do just to get back on track?
Usually it's related to like, if I'm like in a good mind state, if I'm like exercising, staying healthy, then that reflects in the content. If like I'm in a good place, I always like try and take care of myself. Yeah. I think that's good. I'm gonna like stay around for a couple of minutes if you have any like specific questions.
Yeah, so let's